Welcome back, Ninja community and persons who have watched my quality statement disclaimer video. If you haven't seen that already, you should probably go and check that out. In this video, I'm going to be covering some ways to tell if you've walked into either a McDojo or a real ninja convention. Now, the term McDojo, when it's used in a martial arts setting or for a martial arts establishment, it's usually an insult to a martial arts establishment. It has nothing to do with any franchises out there that might have similar names. McDojo is a very old term for such shenanigans and malarkey within a martial arts setting. Some establishments that may even have credentials strive to not be run like a business. They strive to run as an art, okay, which is very difficult because you kind of have to keep a balance of running your establishment as a business and an art. You still got to keep the lights on and the doors open. That's one of the hard parts about it. I definitely could use some help on the business part. Okay, so moving on to some of the ways to tell if you've walked into either a McDojo or a real ninja convention. One of the quick signs is if you walk in and you see half of the students or more, or about 10 students or more, wearing black belts, you've probably walked into a real ninja convention or a McDojo. Either they've all earned their credentials, or they've just bought it, like done a quick, pay them money, you give me this, right? Okay, so let's see. Another thing about if you walk into a establishment, if their weapons are not very well kept, okay? Sometimes real ninjas hold sentimental value to a weapon, regardless of what kind of condition they have kept it in, or so there's something on it and they don't ever want to clean it. You know, a real ninja might do that. However, if a lot of the weapons are not well kept, it's very likely you've walked into a McDojo. All right. If the instructor isn't calling it by its actual name, see, this is a tonfa, and it's also called a side handle baton. Okay, this is not a police stick or a billy club or whatever name somebody might throw out there for it. This is a tonfa. Okay, so if the instructor is calling it by its different name, he might have went through some trauma by actually capturing, you know, real enemy combatives in real combat zones, you know, or, you know, like not articulating the name of the weapon well at the very particular moment. So either the instructor doesn't know the name, or he just has difficulty articulating it because he's a real ninja. So pay attention to those sort of things. Even the sai, okay, is the proper term for one sai or more. Now you can specify by using a term to describe 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I could probably use anywhere from, I'd say I'd feel comfortable with 4. I probably would feel comfortable with 4 sai. If the instructor is very skilled on, or claims to be very skilled on multiple weapons, right? You're either being trained by a real ninja or you're at a McDojo. you got to look at the technique, right? That's the main difference between a McDojo and a real ninja convention. You look at the technique. Okay, getting into, like, there's some ways to hold a sai. Okay, a real ninja will hold a sai with their finger on it like established martial arts. Only when they offer the diamond of peace. They might also when they go to stop it or turn it around, they might do that. A real ninja is very more likely to be using the pointy end. Some recognize traditional styles, which are not McDojos. They'll typically have credentials, but a real ninja is very likely not to throw a punch with his finger on sai like that, because a real ninja is going to grab it, snap his finger, take it away from it. That's my opinion and my intellectual property. Getting to my quality statement and disclaimer, right after I talk about mysterious black scroll credentials. Okay. I'll go through some credentials, like military has credentials. Like on my DD-214, it has my MOS, which is 13 Delta. I did 3 years and 2 months and was held in involuntarily, even though 13 Delta is a minimum of 4 years when you sign up, because they have to do a secret security clearance for that job in entry. Okay? And for close-up pictures or whatever, where my private information of an official copy of my DD-214, check out my quality statement disclaimer video. Pretty sure I covered it on there. Now, a piece of paper, see, you get into legal avenues when you have things on paper. Okay, like I have emergency management certifications here. I'm certified through the state and through federal for emergency management. The last time I done it was in 2013, and those are typically good for about 10 years. I've done it about every 6 years. I think that was the last time I've done it, though. This is a certification that allows me to teach the teachers to license people on certain equipment. Okay? Certain military equipment. That's all we'll get into on that one. Okay, now, you get into the same ordeal with certifications. You get into working with brands. Okay? Now, that is one of the main reasons why I do my quality statement and disclaimer the way I do as ballistic protection. Okay, of course, I will go over that before I describe what this mask is made out of. Okay? But real quick before I do that, I'm going to talk about the facts. All right, you've got like Bruce Lee, one of the greatest martial artists in my opinion of all time. He was even taught some by the legendary Ip Man, called legendary before Bruce Lee even rose to fame. The facts. You look at the facts. Boxing, the legendary fights that inspired movies, the time that they altered the movement, they altered the rules of boxing. It lines up with match. Lines up with the legendary Ip Man match. Okay. The facts. In roughly 2014, a world champion MMA fighter, who was also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, died in a street fight against a scrawny guy, because a scrawny guy pulled a knife. Okay, those are the facts. The opinions of like what happened in the fight, like what they were fighting about or details. Those are speculations. Those are opinions. There's been a lot of debate, even throughout my life, about the legendary Ip Man match. It's always been referred to as the broken footage. And the opinion of the broken footage is because of the way it translates from Chinese or whatever, meaning like having multiple meaning behind it. They always refer to it as the broken footage of the match. All right, so I'm going to get into my quality statement and disclaimer, which of course is mostly to do with liability. And see, when you're getting into liability, like, we'll say this piece of art here that I can sell as art, or maybe I could just get my own trademark and sell it as my trademark, as this artwork, right? Get into branding, get into paying to use certain things. So I'm going to cover my quality statement disclaimer real quick, so bear with me. I'll just move around while I talk about it, okay? So the viewer understands my quality statement disclaimer video, additionally agrees to treat this video as is with ballistic protection. In short, that means I don't have a seal on it, therefore I don't guarantee the techniques and or your application of the techniques. And if you're watching this video with the intention of using its content to commit a crime, that is additionally a crime. Actually using my content in committing a crime is also an additional crime. Okay? So, this mask, okay? This mask here, I made it using layers of silk on both sides and a lot of layers of woven fiberglass material, which is public knowledge at this point of what soft ballistic protection is made out of. Okay. The difference between mcdojos and real ninja conventions, although a real ninja might lack his credentials for like actually having the paperwork for, say, something like combat engineering correspondence courses, or JAG, or things like that, or MBC, or emergency management. He might lack his credentials. Does that mean he doesn't know what he's talking about? Well, he's either well educated or he's a genius, okay? You look at the technique of how it applies, right? Look at the technique. That will tell you that's the main difference between a mcdojo and a real ninja convention. A real ninja is going to have some credentials, okay? They're going to have some, but the main thing is you look at the technique. Like this right here, for instance. I could sell his art. I could even get my own trademark and sell this as art because it's protected under the Constitution. But because my quality statement has, like say with my videos, because my quality statement, the viewer or anyone who basically sees my video has already agreed that they will treat the video as is with ballistic protection. That means that it could follow under the same principal laws of ballistic protection, meaning that it is solely up to the person who is viewing it, right? So it's even highly illegal to modify ballistic protection. Now, I couldn't sell this right here as ballistic protection because I would have to get an official seal on it and official certifications, and they have to test my product in order to give it a official seal. Now, with martial arts, it's like getting federation recognition, right? And you have to look at the federation that recognizes it and their credentials. Because going back to this, I could do a business that has credentials, that has let's see, some some credentials slash just pay to use the trademark. Okay, you look at the effectiveness though. With about 60 layers of woven fiberglass material and roughly 20 layers of silk, I'm not showing you exactly how I put this together, but it's pretty cool, and I'm not even done with it, right? It's even a little bit flexible. Do I think this is ballistically resistant? I think it's more so than some of the standard things out there of soft Kevlar. Oh, well, no, that's not a brand. That's a description of a type. Okay, so I'm good. Okay. So you look at the effectiveness. That's the main difference. If they're not holding it in the traditional ways and they don't have their credentials, you look at the technique. Like with a technique of defending against a psi, of grabbing at the handle, snapping their finger and taking it away from them, is very effective against someone using the psi. Okay, even Bruce Lee, which I believe was a ninja, because he got his title of Sifu post-mortem. He was never actually a Sifu in Wing Chun, not while he was alive. He established a martial arts but he didn't have the Ip Man's blessing of opening a Wing Chun establishment. Bruce Lee was never really a black belt in martial arts. He played a black belt on TV, but he was not a real black belt. But there are some things that he does that makes me think that he was a real ninja. Okay? One of the things he does is he quotes Plato, who is quoting the some of the Apolloian priests, which was priests of a war art involving archery. At the base of the idol, the inscription at the bottom of the statue was partially destroyed during the Trojan War. Plato recorded 5 very different guesses or misquotes of the missing inscription. Okay, Bruce Lee, who studied philosophy in college, is quoting Plato, who's quoting other people in a lot of things. Now, Bruce Lee, he makes his own quotes here and there. He comes up with some of his own philosophies. But in this situation of Bruce Lee quoting Plato, there was 2 of those statues. One was partially destroyed in the Trojan War. The other one was lost. Plato was trying to remember from what he had heard, and he misquoted one of the missing. He gave us about 5 guesses or misquotes. Bruce Lee never actually used any of the 5 extremely different quotes, and he guessed it closer than Plato, who was thousands of years closer than Plato to the event, which I think is kind of really funny. That hypothetically, if someone hired a bunch of ninja pirates to go in and just take out the Apolloian priests, a war art involving archery, And the first thing the ninja pirates do is they take a quote and destroy the middle one. Partially destroy the first part. And the quote reads this: "First know thyself, then know thy enemy. These are the keys to victory." So with "these are the keys to victory" being the last part of the inscription, and it being so difficult to have attacked those priests, which was the main conflict in the Trojan War, like the main aggression, main protection. Bruce Lee got it closer than Plato by misquoting Plato on one of his 5 guesses or misquotes of what the inscription said. First know thyself, then know thy enemy. These are the keys to victory. And I think it's pretty funny because imagine Plato sitting there racking his brain trying to figure out what that inscription was. The part that was left completely intact was "these are the keys to victory." Hilarious. So I really think that Bruce Lee was a real ninja, or at least trained by a real ninja. Okay? You look at the effectiveness of the technique. A real ninja is going to show you an effective technique. Like with the tonfa, he's going to show you a way to use the tonfa that is effective, as opposed to something that is less effective, like how some people have been instructed in the past and they never question the technique. But one of the best and worst things about one of the brands out there is they've been teaching it exactly the same way for at least 200 years. And they throw punches with their finger on it. MMA is a sport. A big dude, the facts, a big dude died against a scrawny guy who wasn't even trained with a knife. Wasn't even trained with it. Imagine how effective the Ip Man would have been in a fight, in a real street fight. The Tao being a very large knife, being part of his art. Imagine there are 2 rules when being a successful teacher, especially in martial arts. The first rule is never teach one student everything you know. So getting to credentials. Don't take a mysterious black scroll as a credential, especially if it's written on black ink on black paper in a language you can't read. Look at